So, you just bought, but you've never played a fighting game before. Don't worry, I'm here to help. Here are 9 tips to help you get playing Street Fighter 6, even if you've never played a fighting game before. Also, slight disclaimer, I am not a professional, nor am I a coach. However, I did start Street Fighter 6 with no previous fighting game knowledge outside of Smash Brothers, and these are some things that I wish I would have known when I started my Street Fighter 6 journey. So let's get started. This one should be pretty self-explanatory. Either use an Xbox or PlayStation controller or a fancy arcade stick if you have it. Just don't use a keyboard. You can use a keyboard to navigate the menus if you want, but please don't use it in-game. Just don't do it. Street Fighter 6's UI and main menu are actually pretty intuitive, especially compared to some other games in the genre. Don't be afraid to press all the buttons. Hit T, hit E, hit R. You don't want to be like me and then realize 50 hours in that there's a button that'll actually take you right to training mode from the main menu. I didn't bother learning or trying to understand the UI till about much longer than I should have, but something I also regret is not trying out the other modes. While if you're grinding ranked, you're going to be spending most of your time in the fighting grounds, there is World Tour and Battle Hub. World Tour is kind of like the main story of the game, and I'd recommend playing it. I heard great reviews. As you can see, I haven't played it much, but if nothing else, at least make your character in the character creator. It's actually quite fun. You get a lot of freedom. Maybe too much freedom. Selecting your character is hard, especially when you don't really know where to begin. I went through many different characters. I started with Luke, then I played a little DJ, and then I finally settled on Juri until I played Manon, and then until I played Ryu. I went through a few different phases. You don't have to stick to the original character you pick, and I'd actually recommend trying them all out a little bit to see which one clicks and which ones don't. Though there are some characters I recommend staying away from, like Guile, Blanca, Chun-Li, pretty much anyone who's a charge character, because I think charge is really complicated. But if you want the challenge, go forth and conquer. The truth is, everyone's going to feel really weird at first and really complicated, and there are some easier picks than others, but just play whoever you think looks coolest or whoever you want to play the most. It really is that simple. If you want a recommendation, I'd say start with either Zangief or Ken, but make sure to play both in Modern, which is actually my next tip. In Street Fighter 6, there are 2 control schemes. Classic, which has been around since Street Fighter's been around, and Modern, which is new to Street Fighter 6. Put simply as possible, modern controls allow you to bypass a lot of the motion controls and inputs you need to do to get moves to come out in Classic. Let's use an example. Zangief's screw pile driver requires a 360 motion to be inputted on Classic in order for it to come out. While it is possible to do stationary, most of the time you'll see players jump into it and then input the 360 motion while in the air. In contrast, if you play Modern, you just walk up and press triangle, or Y. There are some real drawbacks to using Modern. You lose access to certain moves, and your one-button specials will end up doing less damage when compared to their classically inputted counterparts. But don't let that scare you off. I started with Classic, but I really wish I didn't, because learning a fighting game from scratch is complicated enough. Putting motion controls on top of that, especially when you don't have to, is not something I'd recommend. You can if you wish, like go right ahead. Just like choosing your own character, you can play Classic if you want to. I just wouldn't recommend it. Modern also has auto combos. Those are really nice. I like those a lot. When you first launch Street Fighter 6, it's going to ask you to do a tutorial. You can if you want, you don't lose anything by participating in it, but I don't think it's very good. However, if you go into the fighting grounds and then under the practice tab, you can replay this tutorial at any time, and then you can also play the tutorial in modern controls if that's what you're using. The beginning tutorial is actually very good, but there's a lot of information all at once. I can't recommend enough playing through the tutorial multiple times, or maybe once before each session. It teaches you about low attacks, high attacks, overhead attacks, drive parry, drive rush, anti-airs, super arts. There's a lot of really good stuff. I ran through the beginning tutorial once, and it really showed in my gameplay. And don't just stop at the beginner tutorial. Intermediate is actually where I think it really shines. These tutorials teach you a lot about the game. However, doing the tutorial isn't going to turn you into a monster player instantly, but doing them over and over again can teach you some real fundamentals about the game that I wish I would have learned before just grinding in ranked. I also think the character guides are quite nice, especially if they have a character guide that matches the control scheme you're using. but the fundamentals in particular I found were extremely valuable. And once you master the tutorial, I'd recommend running through the character guides before each session to really get a baseline understanding of the character. There's also combo trials, which you can do them, you don't lose anything by doing them, but it's difficult to tell which combo is actually usable in match and which one isn't, and the game doesn't really tell you that, so you might be learning combos that you're never actually going to use. Street Fighter 6's training mode is truly wonderful, like truly amazing. There's so many things you can do in this room. You can practice combos, you can practice DI reactions, you can practice anti-airs. You can recreate almost any situation you could possibly face in every single match you'll play. You don't need to absolutely live in training mode, and actually, Tyler 1 got to Master Rank by spending very little if any time at all in the training mode. You don't have to, it's just, I would recommend it. It really helped me out. Running drills in training mode really helped me improve my core fundamentals, and actually I'll walk you through a drill that I did a lot and would recommend to players at any rank. I refer to this as the diaphone drill. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to tab over to recording settings. You're going to want to make sure you're on the record. You will want to select slot 1, hit start recording, and just have Ryu, whoever is your training dummy, jump straight up and down, and then press start afterwards. That ends the recording. In slot 2, you're going to have them do a forward jump. In slot 3, you're going to have them do a DI. And that's it. That's all you need. Whenever you select Start Replay, Ryu will choose between one of these 3 options. The game has its own DI and anti-air practice, but I really enjoy combining them because it's really easy to react to either a DI or a jump when you're always looking for it. Having them together makes it so you don't exactly know what's going to come next, and it can really improve your practice. You can also initiate matchmaking straight from Training Room, which is what I like to do. Speaking of matchmaking, when you open the matchmaking menu in Street Fighter 6, there's a number of different options you can select. One of those options is casual matches. Don't pick casual matches. Casual matchmaking doesn't check for skill at all. So meaning if you're a new player, you could get matched up against somebody who's a grandmaster. Frankly, someone who's even in Legend. There's something to be said about playing against people who are better than you to improve, but there's a limit to that. I don't think 7th grade me would learn a whole lot by scrimmaging against Prime 2001 Shaquille O'Neal. Instead, I'd recommend just going straight into ranked. Street Fighter 6 is kind of magical in the sense that even 3 years later, people are still buying and playing this game as complete beginners. I did it last year, and I was able to find matches fairly easily. I would also recommend to change some of your settings in order to increase your matches. Those settings be, make your search range worldwide, make your connection anywhere from 2 to 5 bars, please don't do 1, crossplay settings all, and confirming your opponent, I like that one on. I'd argue that the most important ingredient for climbing the ranks and learning Street Fighter 6 is time, and probably patience too. I see learning Street Fighter 6 as not that much different than learning a foreign language. It's unrealistic to expect to have mastered the subject within the first month. Heck, maybe even the first couple of months. It's going to take time, and as soon as you learn something, you might forget something else. But you gotta believe that it's not actually gone, it's just temporarily missing. There's a lot of moving parts in a fighting game, and as soon as you get your anti-airs down, you might forget how to DI. This is all very normal, and just try to give yourself some patience and grace. If you don't, you might end up like me. Oh, I'm locking, my friend. You can eat my... Oh, no, 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 no. This game. Okay, I'm still alive. No, God. Okay, I got this. I'm gonna win. This game. M. Bison. Everyone who told me to play this game. Derek Jeter. Tom Hanks. Everything. Like most fighting games, Street Fighter 6 has a lot of rules that each character has to follow, and then has a lot of characters that break those rules. Knowing all these exceptions happens over time, so I would just suggest getting familiar with whoever you're maining and their unique characteristics and/or exceptions to these rules. For example, the frame data on Zangief's level 3 works differently than every other level 3 in the game. Every character has its oddities, and knowing these oddities is an important step in improving your overall gameplay and character knowledge. And there's only one more tip I have, and that's just have fun. Like, seriously, if you're not enjoying the game, then what's the point? I'd rather you disregard all of these tips and have a good time than follow all the tips and be completely miserable. Having fun and enjoying yourself really is the most important thing at the end of the day. If you aren't having fun, if you aren't having a good time, you're not going to keep playing and you're not going to improve. So do whatever you need to do to have fun. And with that, I'm out of here. Thank you so much for watching the video, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.